Call to order the meeting of the City of Columbiana Planning Commission of August 14th, 2018. I'd like you to all rise for the invocation of Ann Davis and pledge allegiance to the flag.
Lord, we thank you for the privilege to live in your presence and to work with you to build a better community. Help us to do right and to deal fairly with all of our citizens. Give us the faith and courage to put our trust in you. In your name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the roll. Here. Here.
Brian?
Here. First of all, the minutes of the July 10th meeting have been submitted to all of you for review. Are there any questions or comments regarding the meeting minutes? If not, they will stand as submitted, as approved as submitted. I have no old business on the agenda, and we'll turn now to new business. And our first item tonight is a site plan review. A representative from Columbia Gas, Ohio, will be seeking the Planning Commission's approval to construct a gas exchange station and regulator building at 44865 State Route 14. And to answer any questions the Planning Commission may have. Is there a representative here from Columbia Gas? Yes, sir. Do you want to come forward, sir? Come up here. State your name. Of course.
All right, my name is Steve Coleman, project manager with Columbia Gas.
Thank you. You want to tell us a little bit about your project?
Yeah, what we're doing is the system here in Columbiana is almost at capacity for new customers in the service needs system. So we're going to interconnect with Kinder Morgan. That's going to increase the capacity for the Columbiana gas system here. And by doing that, any large business or large factory, any large commercial account that we want to bring on could then build here in this community, and we'd be able to service almost any size customers.
You have submitted plans to us for review. We appreciate that. How big of an area are we talking about?
If you turn to page 4 of the plan set, you can see some dimensions there. It's not an equally square shape, it's just a little odd shape, but you can see we come off the road right of way about 170 feet to the south. It's roughly 200 by 200 in an irregular shape.
This will enable you to provide this service in the entire Columbiana area with this expansion.
Keith, is there any concern about pass down costs at all to the consumers, local consumers?
No, this is funded through our capital program. Our capital program covers all of our consumers through a 5-state area.
Can actually benefit us versus any being any detriment.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So you're basically, Kinder Morgan, what, a mid-level provider, and you guys are taking it off the Kinder Morgan pipeline?
That's correct. They're a transmission company.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so then you're converting it over to sales to commercial or residential?
Yeah.
They've been throwing a lot of new gas lines around town. Is there anything in relation to this, or is it completely independent?
No, sir, that is simply a system upgrade.
Okay.
Existing bare steel mains being replaced with plastic.
Okay.
This is completely new.
Do you have any clients that you're doing this for the potential looking forward to, or just
No, sir.
capacity of the current system?
Not to mine.
Okay. Well, where do you feed the system from right now for Columbiana?
Chris, would you like to speak to that? Chris is a field engineer.
The system's currently fed from over by Envelope 1 across the street.
Okay.
There's a little station where blank on the street name, curves right off of 334 there,
Okay.
and goes towards the golf course.
So you'd be going on the other end then?
It'd be on the completely opposite side of
Okay.
town. So currently, if there was someone to dig into our main on the east, from that point to pretty much where the funeral home is the center of town, we'd lose most of all Columbiana with this new station. You'd have a backfeed in the system, so that incident wouldn't happen. Less likely to happen. You'd have to have two major incidents happen for that.
Okay. And what are you sending to the line as? What pounds are you going to the line as?
The system currently is maximum operating pressure at 58 pounds.
Okay.
It runs about 48, 52 in the winter.
Okay.
Any other questions?
There's another, gas line near there, right? Not too far from there, right? On Creek Road?
Yes, I think that's what they're tying into.
Yeah, Kinder Morgan goes across the farm field there to the south, across from the golf course where we're going to be, goes down, does about a 45 or 90, cuts across Creek Road back towards, that 7.
Back to the hill there.
Yep.
Visually, is it about the same as what's there now from Kimber Morgan? Or is this all gonna be pretty much underground, just like?
No, this will be above ground. We'll have I forget the dimension, 16 by 20 block building. The houses are regulated, it'll be split face block, single hip roof, how they live in there. We'll have a canopy over our odorizer, that'll be all steel construction painted, Arctic white trim, kind of a beige, color. And then, you'll see some various above ground valves, all behind a privacy flat fence.
Okay. So from 14, you're really not gonna be seeing much anyway? Is there any, because there's a residential neighborhood across the street from that?
Yes, sir.
Is there?
It's more golf courses, but yeah, I mean, it is that same community.
Yeah. Is there any audible issues, noise with this, or?
Now, the block will really help cut down on the regulation noise. That's really the only noise you see from that, and that's really in the winter time.
Okay.
Any other questions? If not, would someone wish to move to approve this, to construct this gas exchange station?
I'll move that one, accept the,
You move?
well, I'll move it.
Okay, Don is moving
Have we
to,
accept it?
I'll second it.
second. Okay, that's to construct the gas exchange station, a regulated building at 4465 State Route 14. That's what we're looking for. That's the motion and the second. Any other questions or comments on the motion?
Are there gonna be any landscaping barriers or anything around this? Is that front fence on the front?
Barriers around the outside of the fence?
Yeah, I'm just.
That'll just be graded and grass seeded back. Inside, we will have protection barriers, but you really will.
Chain link to
Chain link is
the
probably.
immediate, perimeter, correct?
Oh, that's
That's
what
what I think.
Any other questions, comments?
In the winter, how much noise can be expected?
Next to none.
Yeah, I mean,
With the two stations, you shouldn't really hear anything. It's the block building, there's no noise coming out of the current building, and it's running at its maximum. So with having the two stations, they're gonna offset each other. It should be quiet.
Okay.
Okay. Call the roll. Deanne?
Yes.
Donna?
Yes.
Yes.
Tucker?
Yes.
Glenn?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I'm glad you feel you need to upgrade your lines here.
Yeah, we can. Okay, item C on the, agenda, the site plan review, Laris Enterprises LLC seeks the planning commission approval to build a 260-foot storage building at their 1395 Worthingly Avenue property. And the representative from the engineering construction company, Tucker Code, will be attending the meeting to answer any questions the planning commission may have. And state your name, please.
Corey Liston for Tucker.
Okay. Hey, Corey.
200 by 60, like you said, 18-foot E-pipe, half-inch on 12, slope roof, 8-inch curb block, metal wall panels, stainless steel roof. It's going to be cold storage to park their trucks, get the valuable tools in a secure location, industrial zone.
You say it's cold storage.
Cold storage. There is going to be one bay with no concrete floor, just gravel, and they'll finish that eventually when they decide what they want to do with that aspect of the building.
So they could choose at a later date to heat it, or that type of thing.
I believe it's always going to be cold storage, they just don't know what they want to do with that bay, or it's the floor.
There's going to be a little conflict of interest for me to vote on this, but I help answer some questions. It is a cold storage building at this current time. If they decide to heat it and build out, they'll submit additional plans to those areas. Right now, they're just looking to store equipment inside because of valuables and locking them up. Where is the building getting built at? Is it in residential, commercial, industrial?
Industrial.
So it's in an industrial park?
10 foot off the left property line, 50 foot from the center line, 77 feet from the right property line, and 58 feet from the back.
Is this LLC currently owns the land?
So it meets all the setbacks that are requirements in the industrial lot?
When do you plan to start construction?
I'm not sure. Yesterday, yeah.
Good answer. I believe it's going down to the state of Ohio and building department review once we get through zoning.
Any other questions?
Wish we'd read a little bit more, Corey, but I think there's not any more questions.
Make a motion, we accept the plans as submitted.
Okay, for a second.
I'll second.
Donna, second that motion. Okay, we have a motion second on the floor, to approve the 200 by 60 foot storage building at 1395 Worthingly Avenue property, which is in the industrial park. Okay, and, that's the motion and second. Are there any other questions or comments on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll.
Yes.
Yes.
Abstain.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, item C on our agenda tonight is, site plan review. Sheridan Enterprises LLC is returning with new drawings, seeking the planning, commission's approval for the business they wish to start. The Wheelies Wing House located at 12 South Main Street. The revised plans include a brewing equipment, serving counter, and a sign above the front door. We have somebody here who wishes to talk to us tonight. Come forward and state your name.
Brian Sheridan.
Okay, you want to talk to us a little bit about, I know we talked briefly about this last meeting, you want to go ahead?
We have a similar concept in another city where we have put together a brewing company. And after the last meeting, my mother had mentioned you guys did wings without beer, and we kind of kicked it around for a few weeks and decided that we had invested in the brewing equipment for there, and possibly through 5 to 10 different beers that would pair with different flavor wines. And kind of set it up almost like a wine menu. We would get a different meal pairs well with. It's kind of our thoughts on it. The team that we've hired has about a decade's experience, and I've had it done before. It seems very good. So we'd like to modify the concept a little bit just to include beer. And it would be only beer brewed in-house, not anything purchased outside.
You'd be brewing it at that location?
At that location.
And are you brewing it or someone?
Someone else is brewing it. I'm sure I'll learn how.
And so who will actually apply for this license?
I applied for the license,
Okay.
but I hired someone to work for
Okay,
me.
okay. Okay, so he's just doing it.
Right.
Okay.
This already has the food prep sink kitchen in it, correct?
Yes.
The one that has.
Thank you, it was in there.
Yeah, that's a hood and, thing.
Couldn't believe it.
How many will this seat? Do you know?
I can sleep between 50 and 60 is what we figured.
Can't hear you.
You want to know how many would sleep? I said between 50 and 60.
You really didn't each other before here?
Yeah, I think so. The way the high top tables are set up and the counter, I think, holds 10.
So you do have a dedicated restroom in the back, though?
There's 3 restrooms. There'll be 1 male, 1 female, and 1 handicap access.
And they don't have to go to the kitchen to those areas?
They do not. Now, in fact, there was an opening going into the kitchen, but it was adjacent to the bathroom, and we just didn't feel that that was appropriate for closing it.
Actually, I don't know if it's a good time. Me and Ryan spoke. There is a tenant who is retiring, and it's very possible that they may expand into take up some of that dead space.
Yeah, I think you're probably needed if people like to drink beer and eat wings.
Yeah.
Do you have your food license?
No.
Okay, so you'll have to secure that too.
Correct.
Okay, and the A1C license you've applied for?
We have applied for it.
What's that? No, I just choose layout.
Is there any other questions? Questions at this point?
Could I ask you a question? How many breweries are we allowed to have in Columbiana? All of a sudden, all these breweries are opening, what's the deal?
There's no code restriction that I'm aware of as to a quantity, is there? The state would determine whether or not they would give them a license. And I don't think there's anything in our code that says a number that we can have.
And they will not be allowed to walk around outside?
Not right now, no.
Okay.
No. No, this would just be no different than going to a restaurant that has food and beverage. Correct?
Correct.
That's a good question. Yeah.
I have a twofold question. I think Brian answered the first one, but, do we at this point, or will we in the future, have a limit on the amount of alcohol on Main Street? We already have 4 places that serves alcohol within half of a block. It just seems like we're heading down a road here, and it just seems like I don't know. I think, my personal opinion is we've got enough alcohol on Main Street. But if we don't have a limit, or if we're not going to have a limit, we should maybe talk about that.
I have an opinion on that too. I'll add to it, owning some of the buildings that have it. We're not gonna have a town. The businesses have phased themselves out. If we don't allow entertainment and food and families to come down, we won't have a downtown in another 5 years. Like, we are going through a transition. I sense it foremost. And to be frankly, it has gone in a direction, and I don't think we need to be frightened by it. I think it's collaboratively together we need to oversee it. We don't have many options at this moment. There's not many people coming to the forefront willing to open their pocketbooks. Everyone has an opinion and an idea, but very few are willing to put in the work and effort to open a business. We all understand who owns businesses. It's not easy. The times of big buildings, you know, just in what has brought the Columbiana to currently seems to be phasing out. I think as far as food and alcohol, most people, as far as bird fish, and everyone is successful, and I think everyone respectively holds that. Like, we're not looking to make it a Youngstown by all means. We want to keep it very, in my opinion, clean family entertainment. And I would say us, especially in our buildings, kind of want to, in a sense, micromanage, and I don't even think just us in general. I think us as a community want to make sure my concerns are just like yours, and I've heard it from other people. I assure you on my end, I won't let it turn into a bar brawl downtown with, if that helps.
I just wanted to make a comment. It seems like Columbiana's been well respected and loved town. Everybody wants to live here. But all these new people move in and then they want to change it. They just want to change it to something else. We'd like to stay what we are.
What are we?
We're a nice community, family-oriented community.
I agree.
Christian.
I agree. So where's the change?
Where's the change?
Well, you gotta understand, like, so where's the breakdown in the sense of the current businesses? Why are they leaving? Are we supporting those businesses?
Okay, I'm gonna let April speak, and then that'll be the last comment out there. Go ahead.
I would just like to say I have encountered several phone calls from small businesses looking to relocate, looking for storefronts in our city. We are still a very sought-after city for merchants and for stores, not only drinking and eating establishments. We run into problems with small entrepreneurs starting up a business and being able to pay rent that is set forth. That's where we're running into issue. We have vacancies, but we have vacancies that have higher rents because of renovation to the buildings that were needed. So there's a very fine line that we walk in how do we attract and get those entrepreneurs in these doors and yet still have the property owner be able to cover what he has done. There has to be a collaborative effort between the building owner and the merchants that are looking to come in, and hopefully we can.
I would say that only is true if you're only looking for startups.
And we do get a lot of startups. I mean,
But not every startup, actually about 80% of startups fail. So unless you want to continually be recycling startups on Main Street, you look for anchors that you know have the ability to make it. And I would suggest that a company that's going to invest, any company, doesn't matter what type, but the age of the internet and shopping online, it has, it's no secret, really put a damper on storefront shopping. So a lot of storefront shopping is going to be more startup type companies, and I think that the city is, and especially with the council, has tried to come up with very creative ways to make that more than affordable. And we now have offered a company to market our city streets and alleys with the city not making a dime, to invite startup companies to come sell their wares on the weekends on the streets with no investment of a building.
And that's what we have here in Columbiana. If you look at our startup, you look at Peter Pedler, who's been there for over 35 plus years. You look at Ron's at some of the gatherings. They were little startups who took a chance, and they're here and they've made it. You look at Jenny and Dave Perkins, who owned the East Park Avenue Marketplace. They were a little startup. They didn't know if it was going to be a success. So that's what makes Columbiana unique.
And you're a collection of many small businesses within yours, right? it takes that kind of size to do that.
I'm gonna, for the sake of us, I think it's a good discussion, and I'm struggling with how we wanna deal with Dave's question, and whether we do wanna address the subject publicly about whether we wanna talk about the future of downtown. I mean, you know, it's a good subject, we can talk about that, but I just like to make this point. I've been on this commission, and I know many years before that I've been on it, the thing that's very interesting is I don't ever recall us, or anybody ever discussing what kind of business somebody wants to bring in front of us. Normally what happens is somebody brings a business in front of us, we determine they meet regulations, they meet the guidelines of what we need, and we don't question them about anything about that business. I mean, am I wrong? Am I correct?
You are correct.
Correct.
Let's take this. Sure. Someone had come to me because we had a bunch of auto parts stores. And we had a fourth one come in, and they said, why can't you stop? I said, we're a capitalistic country, okay? If this town supports 4 auto parts stores, it's gonna support 4, it's gonna support 5, it's gonna support 6, okay? That's their choice and their investment. So we cannot limit anything like that, okay? Because again, we pick and choose who we give the licenses to, and that's not the type of community I think we wanna be, because then there's a chance for favoritism. As far as, and I've been to a bunch of different communities, and a great one of my friends from the town lives in Nashville, North Carolina, where is it something like we're slowly doing here, very small, but on a huge scale, with a lot of different industries, a lot of different businesses, alcohol, restaurants, stuff like that. So as far as many as Main Street can have, it depends on how many Main Street can support, and the town can support, and the people come to. Now, the biggest concern is about turning into a bar, restaurant, rowdy place. And the simplest way to resolve that is if we get into problems, start setting time limitations on how late you want certain places to open. Burgers only serve till 10 o'clock at night, okay? They are not a late night destination party bar, and that's what I don't think the community wants.
No, I don't think we've had any real police issues at Birdfish.
But they determine by setting certain times. So as far as a council, anything we're ever looking to do, I think, for planning commission, if we have problems, we can set time limitations or closing times to reduce that real late night traffic where people get in trouble because they get beer muscle. But as far as limiting the quantity and amount, that's capitalism.
And that comes down to the question of, you know, what is our role? Is it gonna change? Are we gonna make other rules about how we make decisions up here?
Well, I hope not.
Okay. All right, I thought it was a great discussion, but I do want to, Sheridan up here talking about a specific project.
I'd also like to just add with Mr. Sheridan, at the last meeting, it was very vague plans, and we did not approve anything, we just approved the concept or the idea, and requested that they make the investment in formal plans, and we got those. I mean,
We did agree on a beer name.
that was a wing flavor.
Oh, wing flavor, maybe that was it.
Much less.
Are there any other questions on this specific proposal? Got a motion?
A motion to approve is submitted.
Yeah, the only addition would be to obviously expect the state licenses and the health department license for food before you can open.
Understood.
Okay, did you get that, Deanna, with those 2 requirements to the motion?
With licenses from the state, I assume that you're talking about the liquor
And what your license.
A1C.
And Columbiana County Health Department.
and the health department.
Any questions on the motion? Call the roll. Yes.
Tucker?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Yes.
Donna?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. The next item D on the agenda is the site plan review. Sheridan Enterprises LLC would like to submit a new site plan with revised floor plans for their business Rails, 103 South Main Street, to include a food servicing counter. I do send that to come back again. Okay, I want to discuss temporary substitution.
Yeah, the tables, we have 7 tables, and we finally just got the last 2 last week. They're all set at 75 cents, which is, to me, it's an inexpensive price for them, and people were really, really good people to come in and say, hey, I want the table for, $4 an hour, they're gonna play games that fast. But we're anticipating most people are gonna put 75 cents in, it's gonna take them a half an hour to play. It's not gonna generate a lot of revenue, so we were wondering how we could add that. Initially, we thought we would do snacks and soda pops, and we wanted to expand the concept to include gyros, hot dogs, 4 different types of pretzels, one that would be jalapeno stuff, one that would be cream cheese stuff, one that would be regular, and cheese sticks. So give me something to do while I'm watching people play pool.
Yeah.
Forget the burger.
Are you going to limit any age?
We've been over that a bunch of times, and we're not serving alcohol or anything like that. It would be snack foods that any kid could buy, at McDonald's or any drive-through. So I don't believe we are.
Well, I personally thought it might be nice to have at some point, maybe kids could take a day where children could come in and learn how to play pool.
We've actually talked about this.
Because I don't think a lot of kids even know how to play.
Oh, no, not anymore.
Yeah, right. And, so anyway, I thought that might be a nice idea. And, so, what were your hours?
We were gonna do, noon for lunch.
Okay, you want to speak up because they may.
Oh, I apologize. We're gonna open up before noon so that if we are serving food, we can supply lunch and then stay open sometime between 8 and 10, towards the later days of the week, and we may not even open on Monday. If that turns out not to be a popular day, we are gonna try and open every single day initially just to see what is popular with people.
Okay, one more question. The upstairs, you're not gonna utilize the upstairs?
No, not at this time.
Okay.
In fact, we ordered red sash rope to block the stairwell so you can't even go up to the upstairs.
Okay.
So you're gonna be pretty much a warming kitchen, not necessarily.
It's electric equipment. It doesn't require a hood. One of them's a little pizza oven that you pull out that you can do cheese sticks and pretzels in, a gyro wheel.
Okay.
And, a little flat top to heat up pizzas on, and we got a hot dog roller.
So long as you go to the health department.
Right.
Can't
It's
be
actually coming
You're gonna line it like a warming kitchen rather than.
Exactly. Yeah. Then we have made application with the health department. They're going to be out this week just to give us a preliminary look it over.
Go ahead.
Yes. I'm wondering if this is already a liquor establishment or if this is building up to become that.
I can answer that for you. It was originally submitted that way and removed.
Removed, so it's not going to go
Just
there?
food.
Okay, thank you.
That side of the street, isn't that dry also?
I think that A1C license, that wouldn't matter. I don't.
Okay.
You're
the line
there,
there.
both sides.
Okay.
But you've got manufacturers which are kind of an exemption from whether it's dry, and then you have single location permits on the opposite side of the street also.
Okay. So if they ever get it, what would it ever take them to get a single permit located, besides approval from planning commission?
It would have to go to the electors, it would have to be voted.
It had to be voted on?
Yes.
Okay.
It's referred to as local option, and you actually have to have it run on either a general or a special election ballot.
Okay.
Did you hear that, Beck?
Yes.
Did you hear that? Thank you. Any other questions?
The original plans from when you submitted the rails a while back had the dispensers for beer and all that. So the motion tonight would not include those.
We will not.
Correct. I'll make a motion to approve as submitted with the food counter with the exception of the draft or craft beer dispensers. second it.
There's a second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion?
I'm gonna make sure it has the healthy approval.
Did you put that in the motion about the health department approval?
I did not.
Deanne, you wanna add that?
Yes.
You got me last year.
Okay. Are you good, Deanne? You got that? Okay. Any other questions? We'll call the roll.
Tucker?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes. Yes.
Donnie? Rick?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The last specific item on the new business agenda is a preliminary road vacation approval. The Columbiana Boiler Company is seeking preliminary approval to vacate a portion of West Railroad Street. Upon approval, the boiler company will have the property surveyed, platted, and description to be considered at a later date by the Planning Commission for final approval and recommendations to council. And who is going to speak to this?
Good evening, Michael Sherwin, I'm the owner and president of Columbiana Boiler.
Thank you for coming. You want to kind of talk to us a little bit?
So for the last, I think, I just can attest to this, for I think about the last 3 years, we've been, going back and forth about building expansion. We've looked both on property we own, as well as property that we would have purchased here in, outside the city limits, but also in surrounding areas. And we sort of come back to that, right now the best spot, looks to be to use the property we already own to do the expansion. And it would be roughly about 55,000 square feet, it would combine our existing facility, go across Railroad Street and into the, parking and yard that we have already, we already own that property. The main, for you guys, the galvanizing kettles that we manufacture, can be very large, and so we have significant issues loading those kettles on trucks to ship to our customers. And so so that's why we're looking at using Railroad Street as actually putting doors on sort of both sides of the building such that trucks could go through sort of along Railroad Street, and we load it as cranes with the overhead cranes that would sort of, they would connect both buildings together. We could also still have access to our rail siding that we use, both for shipments and receiving plates. And we also have a large stress relieving oven in that southwest corner of the building that we still need access to. And so the only way for us to do that is to cross over Railroad Street. We've looked at, if we do a standalone building, on a site that let's add a rail siding, and we look at the costs that we would have on top of just the building structure to connect the rail siding, to build a new stress relieving oven, and sort of some of the other costs, it sort of is a push relative to somewhere else versus on the property we have, and we prefer to do it all as a single manufacturing site as opposed to having two different facilities in two different places. And so this is just the very beginning stage of the process. We would still then have to work with the city, because there are road issues with Railroad Street there and the drainage of the storm sewer. We have electrical issues with the high tension lines that run through there. There are several issues that we still have to go through, but this is sort of, as we've talked with Lance, these are sort of this is the first step such that we can then sort of move on to the other ones, relative to determining if we can actually build this building here.
So your building currently runs like east to west?
Yes.
And so this new proposed structure, would it run?
Yeah, I think on what Lance gave you on the diagram, if you look, so, the existing building is the rooftop on the sort of top of the page. The yellow square would be the new building, proposed site. So, if you're sort of at our opposite, west of the main door, so it's basically in between, Middle and West Streets.
Very good. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah. And again, I'll abstain from voting because I've had some involvement at a point, but I'll at least give you guys my opinion. And I went back and did a little bit of research about what we've done. We built some larger industrial buildings in Columbiana, and we had a utility issue before, and that was for the Riker facility. And what we did is we had to relocate the utilities around the building. That was a sewer line. And my opinion, my experience is, as far as utility lines going underneath the building, anytime that they're pressurized, I'm 100% against it for design. So we have to look at where the water is and where the gas is. Because either one of those fail, and you have a pressurized line underneath the building, you've got a mess that you can't stop. So those are two items that need to be addressed. You have electric over top of it, which is the main feed on the boundary. That has to be a major deal on the city regarding that electric.
Yeah, we've already started talking to Ann about it.
Relocation.
Yeah.
Relocation of that. So, to me, some of the things that would need to be brought to the planning commission is how they would relocate the sewer, the water, the stormwater, the gas, and the electric. Those are major things. The other concern I have is the elevation of the building, because it is literally the lowest spot. You couldn't pick any worse place to put a building if you, so that's the other big problem I have, is that water comes down that, and basically where he's showing it at is the low spot of the whole facility. So those are my concerns. The thing for his favor is they are not, Columbiana doesn't have any good industrial property. Brian and I are talking about earlier, something else. It doesn't have any good industrial property inside the city, and if we don't work with Columbiana Boiler, there's a potential of losing industry. I mean, there's not a lot of industry to go around, and there's not a lot of good industry left in this town. So it is a really catch-22 on two avenues, but there's a lot of problems to solve that we don't make a problem for everybody else later down the road.
And I would say we recognize those. We have talked with Lance quite a bit about primarily the storm sewer issues, because obviously we know that very well. And I think that's sort of where, if we can get at least the initial vacations of the street started, that will allow us to go back to the state and ODOT to determine what they can or can't do as far as provide help with that. And I would say, as of today, this seems to be the best option. We recognize there are several obstacles that we need to get over, and so, while obviously we want to keep it here, at some point we also have to recognize, these hurdles may be too big, or they may just simply cost too much. At that point, we sort of have to look outside of the city, but as you pointed out, we would much prefer to stay here. We're looking at putting up 2 90-ton cranes, so, I don't know of anyone in the general area except up in Youngstown that has any kind of rigid capacity that's that heavy, and we would use that on a regular basis, but would obviously be an opportunity for us to further add employees, if we would find them today, but we would have the opportunity to be going after new business that sort of is outside of our core business today. But again, this is just the first step of what we would say is probably a very long process.
The other thing I noticed is that the one thing that Lance wrote about the emergency vehicles that still come through that spot. I don't know if that's a reality of something that could be considered, just because of the way manufacturing works and the way stuff gets set.
Yeah, I mean, primarily this section will be used specifically for loading and unloading, which is the street. That said, if you, maybe even on the map, well, no, it doesn't, but I mean, if it's an emergency vehicle, I mean, literally they just have to go up either middle or west and come through the alley and sort of.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying, is they can still go around it, but for something as a sales point, I don't know if going through the building with an emergency vehicle necessarily, because what you guys make is very heavy.
We're not moving
stuff,
it.
and if they're set there, a vehicle's not going to get through the building. And the other question is, there's something to look at as far as setbacks, because we're up against residential property.
We think actually the way the building's laid out, I know in the past, Columbiana Boiler came and got some variances for the setback.
Okay.
But right now, as is the way it's sort of laid out, and it's predicated mainly on the part of where we tie the two buildings in together and some of the rail cranes on the existing building and where we can set some of the new foundations. We think that the building location, while on that map, is probably a little bit tight to the property line.
Okay.
We've already got enough setback from the initial survey that Chamberlain did for us at the beginning of this year, last year, that we're okay with setbacks from the property lines. At this point, we're not looking to ask for any variances. So we think we're okay. Because obviously we don't have any to the east because that's open lot. We're far enough away from the back alley. The only one that might get into some concern would be the one that is to the west towards the property that the Comco or the Smith zone. And while we've approached Comco already about what we're planning to do and they're okay with the vacation of the street, we haven't necessarily gone back to ask them if we need to buy some of the property and then give them like a 99-year lease relative to no building, so that we can have enough setback from the property line for emergency vehicles to have access to it.
I think there's been quite a bit of strategic planning involved already.
Yeah, I mean, so we spent 2 years on this.
And I would like to make the comment while you're standing here, that Columbiana Boiler Company is such a critical company to this city. The history of Columbiana Boiler Company is tremendous. I think it goes back to World War I.
1894, so we're going on 125 years this year.
And the jobs that they created, they're good jobs. It's amazing to tour that plant and see what they do. I've had that before too.
Yeah.
And I think people don't know how far you ship these products all over.
No, I mean, we ship to 30 different countries year in, year out.
And it's a tremendous asset for the city.
Yeah.
Tremendous asset. And I would hope that we can do everything possible, to overcome some of the things that Tucker's brought up here.
Oh, yeah, I would agree. We obviously have the same concerns. I mean, I can understand the city's perspective of, okay, I have my utilities and sort of under somebody's property. Obviously, we have the issue of, we have a health and safety issue for our own employees. If there's something that goes wrong there, is it a potential hazard for those employees or, then if it's not, but somebody's got to just, tear up the street or whatever to get the utilities, obviously then that impacts our business. So, again, we recognize some of those things, but we think we can make it work, if not, then we've got to start up the process again and sort of maybe try to find another piece of property to use for us.
I sure hope they give it 100% and trying to keep it.
I appreciate that.
I'd like to see that relationship. We appreciate your work. We appreciate you working with the city officials here and doing everything to keep you as part of our community. And like I said, I think this is fantastic news that we're getting tonight.
Yeah.
Very exciting news, and I hope that we can make our way through. And I really appreciate the fact that you've taken the time to come here tonight to explain this to us. And I know you'll be working with Lance and the city officials.
For sure.
Down the road.
I'd like to make a motion that we give preliminary approval to vacate the portion of West Railroad Street that was submitted in our packet.
I'll second.
Any other comments? Motion?
And that's a recommendation to the council for the street, correct?
No, this is just preliminary tonight.
They're not suggesting that once that's done, they would survey a plat and then we would make a formal approval recommendation to the council at a later date.
And we own all of the contiguous property to the vacation.
Right, so there's no notice, there's no public hearing.
Do you need anything from Comco actually, a letter for that?
We actually called Ricky's out of town all week, so we couldn't get something from him.
Before final though, I mean, it'd probably be there.
Council may say something about that, and you may want to find, would be a bad idea.
Yeah, no, I mean, we've talked to them at least once or twice about it. and when we started initially do this, because, you know, if there's something that we can do that benefits them, I mean, we deal in that same section of town, we have, they have trucks, we have trucks, we get flooding, they sort of have, they're right next to us, so they have to deal with it sometimes as well. And so if there was sort of anything that the two of us could sort of collectively do together to improve that section of town, we obviously were gonna try to work with them. And so they knew what we were thinking of doing and were supportive of it. We did try to reach out to Rick, but he's out for town all week, so we couldn't get something in writing for this meeting.
Yeah, that's fine, you don't need it for this meeting, but.
Yeah, we recognize that's something we should have in the future, or if we get that far.
Great.
I would just like to say that, I worked at Comco Industries, and I know, I have talked to Rick too about this. He verbally told me the vacation of Railroad Street is okay with Comco. In fact, maybe just a little history lesson, Comco Industries wouldn't be in Columbiana today if it wasn't the boiler company, because way back in the day, the only reason Comco bought the property is the Columbiana Boiler Company leased a good significant portion of, it was probably in the 90s, leased a good portion of the building, and made it win them financially to purchase the building, and you were there for a number of years. And I know the relationship is excellent between the two companies, so they do work together cooperatively.
Right. And I think part of the goal is with that section of Railroad and Middle Street would be is to widen that intersection. A number of their trucks have decided to do some renovations on our building. And so if we can get rid of that by maybe making that intersection wider, such that their trucks have more room to turn that corner and stuff, then obviously, we're gonna look at that.
Okay, we have a motion, second on the floor. Any further comments? Call the roll.
Yes.
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 Okay.
Thank you again very much for
Oh,
coming.
yeah, my pleasure.
Look forward to seeing you again. Okay, item 8 on the agenda, is commission comments. I don't know if anybody else up here would like to make any comments tonight.
I'll make one. Again, it seems like a broken record, but at every meeting, planning commission is as full and busy as council meetings. And it's great to see the investment that's being made. No different than every other discussion that we have. Not everyone's gonna like every investment or business or choice, but that's the beauty of living in a free country. We choose to reside here, live by the laws we have. If we don't have a law that says you can't, we wanna have a certain business. I think it's a great asset to the community. I think that every one of these businesses in different ways are all making sizable investments, and it means that they believe in our community. They're down to Columbia Gas and expanding their lines for seeing what's coming here. That should speak volumes to what's going on and why this room is full. But we wouldn't have a full room if we didn't have people investing in the community. I think it's wonderful.
I just would like to add to this. Years and years ago, my parents lived here and started a business, and it was an appliance and furniture business. And as such, they were successful and had it for a number of years, and then they both expired, and so we ran it for a while, and then we changed businesses and don't have people renting where we were, and so that's just the nature of Columbiana, folks. You're gonna have one set of businesses for a while, and then it will change, and then it'll be something else, and it's never gonna be the same forever and ever, and so we just go with the flow and try and make the best of what we can, and have it all be legal and be a pleasant community that we can all live in.
I'd like to make a quick comment. I've seen this with the industry that we're in, that one thing concerns me at Columbiana, and Brian had a little bit earlier, is our shortage of industrial property for businesses. Right now, Columbiana spent a lot of money on a brand new sewer treatment plant, water plant. Everything's getting up, now we're getting more gas. But right now, this community has nothing to attract industry to come in. They've shown the problem, Columbiana Boiler has, that they like to stay in the town, but if Plan A doesn't work, there is no room for Plan B in the town. And we don't start moving down that path, there's gonna be a lot of business and opportunities, and other industrial parks opening and filling up, that Columbiana is not even part of the conversation. And I've been in those meetings, and there is no conversation to that because there's nothing there for them. And I know it's a long, slow process, but I think the sooner we start on that process for industrial properties, for any businesses, to help build Columbiana's industrial base.
Tucker shared an idea with me today, going forward with any additional industrial park idea, and this would be more of a council thing, but I think it could be a recommendation from the planning commission or even for you, Lance, that if we would ever move forward with an additional industrial park, have some type of bylaws set up within it that you can't just buy property and sit on it.
Get built in a year.
Yeah, I mean, Firestone Farms had, when you buy a lot within 6 months, you had to break ground on it. And within a year of it being finished, you had to landscape it, and it kind of forced things along. I think if people just buy things to sit on, they will, and we'll have a bunch of land, as we do now, that people don't want to sell and sit on. We've got usable space if we can't. So that would be definitely something for council to consider doing in the future, is to force activity within an industrial park.
The interchange, I think, we sometimes try to stay in the structured plan, but I think it was good we got some comments tonight, and I think it's good everybody's sharing their feelings. I think that's very important, that we all get a chance to do that. Do you want to say something, Rob? And by the way, maybe I should do this. Let's just do this so we're all formal. I think those are all the commission comments, so we will go to the public comment section right now. So anybody out there has a comment?
Mine is just brief, healthy discussion about some parking on Main Street, just to see if I'd like to pursue some possibilities to bring in some possible plans, but just while we have this group of people here, I thought it might be worthy. So, my name is Rob Schwartz, I'm Generations Cafe.
Might go up to the mic just so that on the record.
My name is Rob Schwartz, I'm Generations Cafe, and after hearing, about some of these new businesses, we've been talking about a lot of them. One of the challenges we do have up there at the cafe is being able to serve coffee in the morning to people that are kind of in a hurry. So coffee typically is something you want to get on the run. So for us to compete in that area, one of the things I was going to try to ask for is if we could do some short-term parking up to a certain time in the morning on a couple spots in front of the coffee shop. The more I thought about it, and after hearing the plans for like rails and everything, another thing that I was thinking is, remember when the one street, Friend Street, was a one-way going past the police station? It's a mess. I don't know if anybody's tried to come down towards, and turn off of that, but it really wasn't designed to be a two-way, and it hasn't been improved to handle two-way. Maybe we could increase some parking on one side of that, which could help with some of the new businesses. Because I can only see it's going to get more difficult probably to park near the coffee shop. That's my interest right now. But if there's a mom, kids, or just someone in a hurry to work, they can't find a spot just to get a quick cup of coffee and go. A lot of towns have maybe a 10-minute parking time up until maybe 9 a.m. so you get some coffee on the run, and maybe we could add some parking on that Friend Street. Make it a one-way.
Ryan's News had that.
I was just going to say, Ryan's News, when we bought that, I remember they had signs out front.
Well, we found that they put that sign there themselves.
I was always wondering.
Well, was it,
Yeah, and what's it to a certain time, like, I wouldn't wanna encroach on the businesses that open at 9 o'clock and jam up their spots, but maybe it's just till 9 a.m., maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes parking, so someone has kids, they can pull up, they can just get in and get out. And then, but I was thinking, it would be nice to have parking on that one side of the street.
I like that idea.
I mean, that street is, I think it's dysfunctional the way it is, and I would imagine, that the emergency response teams prefer to maybe have it one way out of there too,
I would always like that, one way.
you know?
Thanks, Rob.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, and
If it's a possibility, I would get land and pursue it.
we're just talking up here. I don't know who could maybe put, you know, we could put it on an agenda, so somebody would maybe make a layout drawing, so it's kind of like something that we could bring in, put it on the agenda, and everybody could have it, can take a look, you know, it might be a good idea.
I would be more than happy to just put something together.
There's something I even have to do, because that'd be something the council could just do.
This back theater feature on a map, especially trying to come out.
I could work with
on Elm Street.
check it out, okay, one of us right now, council.
I think it's a good idea. We could keep playing the street, you know.
So you take one road one way, one road the other way, off Main Street with Elm and with the other one.
And you have parking that whole way.
I would think that it's really a mess going both ways. But I would think the police chief would have some good input too.
Well, now, in Elm to Park, is sometimes you get 7 cars deep, just, I mean, that still looks really bad on the right intersection. It takes forever to get out.
Maybe there's some spots we could do that.
Well, and I hear we may want to just have that plan presented to council, you say?
We do that at street fair, though, right? Street fair, we call
We
it,
do,
we
yeah.
call it one way, one
Yeah.
road, and one way the other way.
Exactly.
So we do it at a certain time of the year, but what we should do is actually pay attention to how traffic flows during street fair, and see if it makes.
I like the fact that it gives you more parking.
Yeah, if there's on it, get with Lance and we'll try and.
Good idea. Any other public comments? Okay, hearing no other comments, we have a motion to adjourn?
So,